Hello everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen, and in this video I'm doing the book shopping tag. So jumping right in, the first prompt is, do you buy books physically or digitally? And I'm gonna answer like two facets for this question, because I feel like two apply. Like, do you go out to bookstores or do you order online? And then also, do you order like physical books or some sort of digital books, whether that be digital or audio? And I am exclusively a physical book person for a lot of reasons. Audiobooks I tend to find hard to follow along because I get distracted, and I just don't really like reading that much on screens. So physical books all the way for me. Even if I did want to switch, I feel like I have such a huge physical TBR that like I'm just committed to physical books at this point. And then as far as the shopping, I prefer to shop in stores because I do like to browse, but if I have a particular book in mind, and especially if I think it's one that might be kind of hard to find in the store, and then also especially if I'm planning to read it soon, so I'm kind of on a deadline, then I will order online. Prompt number 2 is, do you prefer big bookshops or small bookshops? And I prefer big bookshops. Small bookshops can be interesting to look at, have interesting vibes, but I'm just a sucker for a nice Barnes & Noble or a Books A Million. You know exactly what you're getting out of those stores. Prompt number 3 is, do you prefer new or used books? And I prefer new books, but I have, in the last couple of years, gotten very passionate about free little libraries, which are, of course, used books, because it's so nice that you can get free books from them and you can leave books that you've read that you're not going to read again. And it allows you to get a lot more books because they don't cost any money. Prompt number 4 is, are you a major couponer or do you buy books at full price? And when I go to bookstores, I typically buy at full price. I don't really care if I have a specific book that I'm wanting. I will pay full price for it, but obviously I just mentioned that I've gotten pretty passionate about free little libraries, which isn't a coupon per se, but it is free books. Prompt number 5 is, do you research a book first or do you buy on impulse? And for me, it's kind of a mix. I would say I mostly get books on impulse if they've got a nice cover, if it seems to be in a genre that I like, if the back seems like an interesting concept. Sometimes now I know more about books just because I do watch BookTube so much now, and so I can hear about books a lot more in depth before getting them, and sometimes I will go out and get books because I've heard about them on BookTube, but I would say I'm still mostly an impulse buyer when it comes to books. Prompt number 6 is, do you like to get books 1 or 2 at a time, or do you like to get big book hauls? And I'm a 1 or 2 at a time kind of person. My TBR is so huge that I would just feel guilty getting a whole bunch of books at once, and also like if I'm actually buying, I'm not going to want to spend that much money at one time. So in general, 1 or 2 at a time for me. Prompt number 7 is, do you like to get new releases or older books / classics? And while I don't typically get classics very often, I do usually get older books because I, again, just have such a long TBR that by the time I get a book, it's usually been out for a while because I'm just not capable of keeping up with all of the new releases. And even when I do buy a book, I typically don't read it for a very long time. So even if I bought something new, by the time I read it, it's not going to be new anymore. It's pretty rare for me to prioritize a new release. It usually has to be by an author that I really love or a part of a series that I'm somehow current on. Prompt number 8 is, do you pre-order or can it wait? And much like the last question, usually it can wait for me unless, again, I'm very excited about it. I have very few books that I've ever pre-ordered in my life. I think they might all be by the Green Brothers. I know that I pre-ordered the sequel to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, and I think I maybe even pre-ordered the first one too. And then I pre-ordered Turtles All the Way Down. And those like might be the only books I've ever pre-ordered. I don't pre-order very often. Prompt number 9 is, do you like to shop for beautiful special editions, sprayed edges, that sort of thing? Or do you love books for what's on the inside and you don't really care about getting special editions? And again, I don't get special editions very often. I have like a special edition of some of the Harry Potter books. I have some signed books, like some of my Green Brothers books, but I don't have any books with sprayed edges except for one that I got from a friend on my TBR. And yeah, it has to be a pretty special book for me to seek out a special edition. Or it would have to have come from a subscription box, which All the subscription book boxes that I've done, I feel like haven't been ones that like specialize in doing special editions. I've just gotten normal books from my book boxes. Like I've never done Fairy Loot or anything. Prompt number 10 is, do you like to show your favorite books love by having multiple copies of them or by having one copy that you love dearly? And I am a single copy kind of a person most of the time. Again, I have multiple copies of some of the Harry Potter books, and I think that is all. Like at one point I had just a regular copy of Eleanor and Park, and when I got like a special copy that was signed and had like art on the inside, I got rid of the old copy that I had. So yeah, pretty much Harry Potter is the only book where I have multiple copies of it. The only other book I can think of where it's like really tempting is Peter Pan. I would love to have multiple copies of Peter Pan because there are so many different beautiful covers for that book and I love it, and it's like a childhood thing. So I feel like that would be a fun one to have multiple copies of, but I just don't have the space, and I don't know. I hate to spend money on the same book over and over again, even though there are so many beautiful covers up for it. But anyways, prompt number 11, the final prompt is, do you have a favorite place to shop for books? And as I mentioned earlier, Barnes & Noble is kind of my go-to. Recently, I've gotten into Books A Million because I live close to one now, and they do have like a really good sales aisle. So yeah, pretty basic shopping list for me is Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. And of course, free little libraries. But that was it for the book shopping tag. I hope you enjoyed, and now on to the quote for today's video, which today I have one from George Washington Carver, and it goes, "Education is the key to unlock the golden door of freedom." Thanks for watching. Remember, words matter.